President Biden calling out the governors of Texas and Mississippi for lifting coronavirus restrictions in their states.
The last thing we need is Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters.
The last 7 days it's plateaued. We've been to this scene before months and months ago when we tried to open up the country and open up the economy. When certain states did not abide by the guidelines, we had rebounds which were very troublesome.
Hello everybody, this is the Recon here, coming to you from a random basement in California, maybe, who knows. Today we're going to be talking, like I always do, about personal responsibility and the lack of it in our culture. But first, let's intro. Alright, Fauci says the places that didn't abide by his restrictions that he laid out and the CDC laid out and the WHO, I mean, who the hell knows what they're doing. But they probably put them out too. The places that didn't abide by that, well, they had a second wave. Now, this is all of the United States, right here, since the beginning of the coronavirus on March 2nd. Which, right. But, I mean, there's been a lot of rebounds, all right? Which, you know, a normal person would look at that and go, well, yeah, but that's because different areas got it, you know, after others, you know. New York got hit first, and then maybe California, then maybe Arizona, you know, that. But we never do this with states, you know. If a state gets hit, we go, oh my God, the state's getting hit. And then they get hit somewhere else, and we go, oh my God, the state's getting hit. Now let's look at California. They had a small spike here. That was their first wave. And this was seen as really bad when it was happening. I remember, if you remember, they closed everything down. That's apparently just something we do now, by the way. I mean, I remember those, the riots, the peaceful protests where we shut everything down. Anyway, they had a little dip here, and then boom, they got hit again. Weird, because, you know, and then they had kind of a third wave here, which is weird because, like, I don't know. I remember them following restrictions. I'm pretty sure they're still not really completely open. Let's see. New York, obviously they didn't have a second wave, right? Like, where do you, here's the first wave, do you see a second? It's pretty much flat since then. I mean, God, they got hit harder twice than, like, anybody else. Okay, and I'm not saying the places that didn't follow restrictions did any better. I'm just saying that the places that did follow restrictions got hit hard, and they had a second wave. It's just... Now, these guys only didn't have, they have a lot of rather mini waves, except for here between October and December, where they really got hit hard. But it's just really frustrating, because people are believing this crap. And it's pretty obvious that the people in charge of us, which they are in charge, they used to just be our leaders. You know, there's a difference between a leader and someone who is in charge of you. But now they're just, you know, their big brother. The government is just our mother now, telling us what we can and cannot do. And they have that power, and they don't want to let go. They're the eatable mother. They're not just a mother, they're the eatable mother, which I don't know if you know what that is. But essentially, it's those mothers that want to keep their child in the basement all of their life because they don't want to let them go. They want to control their lives. And then they take care of everything for him, but the kid just turns out depressed and horrible. That's where we're heading. I don't really want to talk about the virus right now. It's just, that clip really bugged me. But, like I said, we become personally irresponsible as a culture. And this is absolutely obvious. One of my favorite things Dave Ramsey says is that there's only two types of millennials. He loves hiring millennials because there's only two types of millennials. There's the ones that'll tell you, yeah, I'm not going to work hard at all. I don't think I should have to do anything, and I don't want to do anything. So if you hire me, I'm going to be on my phone the entire time, and I'm going to be talking to friends, and I expect you to let me do that, and I'm going to expect high raises for doing nothing. And then there's the millennials who will work their ass off at whatever they're doing. You know, they'll carry 2 to 3 jobs. They're going to put their whole life into your company. And I think the latter millennials are harder to find. They're definitely out there, but they're harder and harder to find nowadays, especially as this disease of letting other people do everything for you is just taking over. Because when we were kids, everything was given to us. Not only was everything given to us, but anything we didn't like was taken away from everybody else. You know, you have the whole, if you bring a snack into class, you have to share it with everybody else. This is a really minor case, you know, but you can't bring peanut butter into schools because somebody has a nut allergy. You know, that kind of crap. It goes straight along with the whole, you have to give trophies to everybody just for participating. Anyway, I have a personal experience that I'll go ahead and share with you guys. I don't share a lot of personal information with you guys, but I'll go ahead and share this. I was backpacking with my buddy. I'm not going to use his real name. I'll call him Adam. And we were planning to be gone for between like 3, 4, 5 months on the Pacific Crest Trail. On the third day, we were being idiotic. We expected more water along the route, as was shown on the map, but California was in a drought. So third day, we got horribly dehydrated. Dizziness, hallucination, we were both throwing up, extremely weak. My buddy My buddy Adam kind of sat down under a rock. He was really weak. I can't blame him. And so I took a water bladder from my bag, no filter or anything. I figured I could just go up a little bit, find where the water was, and bring it back and filter it back there. I ended up going probably 2 miles down this mountain. We were on top of a mountain. I ended up going about 2 miles down this mountain and finding just this slow, maybe 2 mile per hour moving creek with, just ants and mud and dirt in it. The water is red. And so I poured about 7 gallons of that. And then, 7 liters of that. And then somebody gave me some bleach, and I drank it, and I laid down for about 20 minutes. I could not move anymore. I almost fell off the edge of the mountain a couple times because of how just dizzy I was. And I brought it back up to my buddy Adam. And he had moved about half a mile down the trail, sitting there begging for water from people. And he left my stuff up the mountain. It's real. I think that's real funny, guys. But my point here is, he went home after that. Okay, we'd been planning this for 3 years. We dropped about $3,000 each on it, which is a lot of money for both of us at the time. And 3 days in, got a train ride, went back home. That train ride was awful, by the way. It was just 2 days of sitting in a small chair with horrible, expensive food. I'm not a huge fan of trains. I've only had one experience, and it hasn't been good. Anyway, I decided to stay on the trail, and I was lonely. I'm kind of a social person. I like to talk to people. But I decided to stay on the trail and keep going, and I got about, I got about a month or 2 in, and then I had gotten the stomach flu for the second time, and there was snow on the ground, so I'd had to turn back anyway, and I just wasn't having a good time with it, and I ended up going back home. But I didn't give up immediately. I kept trying to push through it, and I tried to keep my head up and think about what was ahead. My point here is that Adam had everything given to him, pretty much his entire life. And he went through his life just, pretty easily. He never really had any struggles. And things went and got rough, and he went, well, I'm just going to have my dad buy me a train ticket back. His dad bought him the train ticket back, and he went back home. And that was that. That was 3 years of planning. That was $3,000. Went got rough, and he gave it up to his authorities. And that's what we're doing nowadays. I had to get to these articles soon. Look how many I have. I got quite a few. All right. So, first of all, I want to get back into the Dr. Seuss books. First of all, I love Dr. Seuss. This is CNN here. CNN's over here. They're not complaining, but they are stating that the books, even the ones not banned, are flying off the shelves at Barnes & Noble or flying out of the warehouses at Amazon. I mean, they are just selling out everywhere because everybody is so scared that these are going to get taken off the market. Which, I mean, how ridiculous, right? I mean, only 6 of them were taken off. If you read any of the social media comments, look, this was self-censorship. There's nothing scary about that. No dictator, other than Mao, ever used self-censorship as a way to oppress people, and Stalin. But, or if you look at social media on the left about this type of stuff, you'll also find, it's a good thing. This isn't censorship. You're being crazy. But it is a good thing. They aren't being canceled, but it's a good thing they were canceled. It's just so contradictory, I think. Anyway, this was posted yesterday, and now we have a post yesterday at a slightly later time that eBay is now removing these from you can't sell them yourself on eBay. People are selling these for, I think the highest selling one was going for like $4,000 at one point. Okay, but now they're taking them off eBay. eBay's going, yeah, you can't sell any book with a Chinese kid in them. I mean, this is just pretty scary stuff. These are the books right here. And to think that I saw the Mulberry Street, If I Ran a Zoo, Make LA's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Eggs, Super, The Cat's Quizzer. Okay, you guys go ahead and throw in the comments if you ever read these books as a kid, any of these books as a kid, or any of his books as a kid, and ever got any racist impression. Any, or if you were parents reading them to your kids, or a few years ago you read them. I don't judge. Maybe you're old and reading them. I don't know. But go ahead and throw in the comments if you ever did that and got any racism out of it. I certainly never did. Used to be some of my favorite books. Now these 2 articles are short. You can read them yourself. They're not that informative. I pretty much just told you everything. All right, what we're doing here is somebody didn't like these books. I guarantee you this is what happened. Somebody didn't like these books, and so they went and they cried to the company that owns them, and they probably did the PolitiFact thing where they just complain all over and then basically say, hey, we're going to go yell at your advertisers and your supporters, and we're going to get you in big controversy unless you just take these books out. And now they're self-censoring, right? I mean, not really, because they were peer pressured to do it, and this is all a big group thing, but they're self-censoring, so I guess it's better. I don't know, who knows. I already did a whole video on this. You guys can go ahead and watch that if you want more information on it. We're going to keep going, though, and this is all connected together. I'm just going over events from the past year and how they're kind of being brought back up today and how they kind of all relate to this irresponsible nanny state that we're creating. This ethically gray nanny state that we're creating. This is about, basically there was a guy online who was talking about, maybe rioting again on March 4th. So we spent these millions of dollars, brought people to the Capitol, brought soldiers and whatnot to the Capitol, National Guard. And and we're just leaving them there until I guess Nancy Pelosi feels safe. I mean, she is the one who is saying that they're going to be there until we feel like we don't need them anymore. We're spending millions of dollars on this. Now, is this the biggest issue? No. But it is kind of, I mean, look, we spent a lot on military. Okay, a lot on military. Is it a big issue? No, it's not. But, it is kind of feeling like a military state. That's what I kind of see it as. And how come they didn't bring these people out on the BLM riots that we're not allowed to talk about anymore? I still hear about the January 6th riots that caused a few $10,000 worth of damage, maybe. Stay as long as they are needed, is what she says. Caused, $10,000, maybe. Tens of thousands. And one person died. But the BLM riots cost, let's see, I had pulled it up here. Here's it, up to $2 billion. $2 billion. If one person had all that, the left would want to eat them. you get what I'm saying here? Like, that's a crazy amount of money right there. In the wake of George Floyd's death, right? Which I believe his trial is coming up soon, which is kind of scary. There's a lot of ads on this. I'm going to close that. That's kind of, I mean, I'm not ready for the riots from his trial when they decide the second-degree murder. There's not a whole lot of evidence to support that, considering all the fentanyl that George Floyd had, and, the fact that he couldn't breathe while he was in the car, quote-unquote, and they tried to keep him in the car, and then he pushed his way out of the car, and so they decided they needed to put him on the ground. And now, I'm not saying what they did was right. I'm just saying probably not second-degree murder. Los Angeles back in 92, the LA riots, $775 million. In today's money, that's $1.42 billion. Now, across 20 different states with tens of millions of people rioting, in 2020, $1 to $2 billion. Billion. The closest that comes to that, the LA riots, and the next closest is going to be LA again. Maybe there's something weird about LA. Wonder what it could be. And then we have over here Fauci saying, and a bunch of other Democrats, by the way, saying that we shouldn't loosen the restrictions. This is in response to Texas coming out and saying, hey, we're going to get rid of these COVID restrictions. We're at low numbers. The vaccines are working. And we think we're going to take our hands off it. We're going to let our citizens do what they want to do. And frankly, thank God for Texas. I mean, if there's somebody out there that doesn't just love Texas, it's a great place. Great place. Now, all these things together are very, very random. But they show just the willingness of our culture to just give crap up. People come out rioting because they decide that they're bored and want to riot. And what happens? Nothing. We don't call police. We don't bring in the National Guard. In fact, we tell them to stand back. We don't arrest anybody. And if we do, we put up money for their bail. And it costs us $1 to $2 billion. And I believe 19 people died. Bunch of people were injured. A whole lot of people got injured. Not to mention they didn't wear masks, but I guess that's not, I mean, some of them did. But a lot of them didn't. I guess that's not important anymore. At least not in Texas. Okay. And people are still completely, the experts, quote unquote experts, say U.S. shouldn't loosen coronavirus restrictions until daily new cases fall below 10,000. If people aren't getting hospitalized, okay, if they're not dying much, I don't see the issue. And then, of course, we have, preparing. I don't see that. I wanted to bring this in because it shows the overreaction from the January 6th riots, which I think were horrible, okay? I'm not trying to undermine them, but the fact that we're still talking about them and just the overreaction. And, this is like, when that white supremacist ran into somebody with their car. I forget what that was called because they have a new thing to bring up now. I used to always know what it was called because the left always brought it up. One person died, and then they blamed that on the right. That wasn't even. It's not even like Republicans. That was just a far right nationalist socialist group. But anyway, I just want to bring this up because it shows the fixation on things that weren't that bad. I mean, they were pretty horrible. And then the lack of fixation on something that lasted for months, many, many months, costed far more damage, but now we're just supposed to forget about. I'm going to go a little bit further. Maybe I'll start going more into personal stuff here. Go a little bit further into some personal experiences here. I have two friends. One of them is autistic, and the other one just grew. I mean, they both grew up in just horrible lives. I mean, they have rightful hate for their family. I mean, no, you really shouldn't have any hate, but God, they've had the worst lives. I mean, I'm talking being beaten, being demeaned, yelled at constantly for doing the right thing, told they were failures, etc., etc. One of them, the one with autism I came across, used to have horrible, semi-low functioning autism. And, if you can't work through that, you can't work through that, but he did. And then he had 2 jobs, and he was paying his way through university. And he had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a fiance who, semi-traditional, going through life, there to support him, the better half of him. And he worked for everything that he had. Didn't take handouts, refused handouts, frankly. Didn't take anything, didn't take out loans because he knows it's a stupid idea, because it's satisfaction now in being screwed later on. This guy, he went through life the right way. And did he get screwed over a few times? Yeah, because life is hard. I think as the Taoists say, life is suffering. You can't fix that. That's how life is. But you're sure as hell not going to make it better by giving up your freedoms to someone else because they promise you the snake oil that can fix it. Because they promise to get rid of the things that you don't like just a little bit. Because your life is so good and you are so bored that you can go out and find all these tiny little things that don't matter to anybody and never have, and try to quote unquote fix them. My other buddy, a bigger dude, he had a really hard life, really hard through school. I mean, frankly, I believe he only went to school 30 days his sophomore year. I'm just showing how bad the public school systems are. And he passed all of his classes. Tell me how that works, okay? But this guy got through high school just barely. Big dude. I'm talking 380 pounds. And just in a rut. I was moving out of state. I said, we hadn't even known each other for a year. I said, hey, you want to move with me? He said, yeah. He moved. I think he's down to about 300 pounds now. Dropped 80 pounds in a year or two. And the dude he's got his welding degree now. He didn't have a license. Now he has a license and a car. He's working 2 jobs. He's saving up money. He's got a girl that he loves. And he sees his future and what he wants it to be. And he's working and he's going to get somewhere. May not be where he wants. It may be further than he wants. Who knows? But he's working. He has his head down. And he's going through life until he makes it somewhere. Until life gets a little bit easier. He's putting his back into it. We don't do that anymore. Like I said, life is suffering. You're not fixing it. We should do this policy because this bad thing in life happens. Yeah, it does. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to fix it. Now, I'm not completely against social policies. I think some of them are useful, but I'm not for just these. Well, first of all, the government taking over businesses. All right, that is just terrifying. Maybe I'll do a video on socialism and how that has failed. And here, I'll just throw out a few examples here. Cuba, Venezuela, Vietnam, Russia, many times. China, if you want to take it to the extent of communism, failed many times. Maybe I'll do a video on China too. Germany, obviously. It failed in Switzerland, but not to the extent that all these other ones did. See, in Switzerland it failed, and basically they went, oh, this is failing, and they switched it back to a free market system. All right, but I mean, it just keeps failing everywhere it's tried, guys. Some places slower than others. Some places have a bigger reserve, and it takes longer to burn through it. But it'll fail. It will fail. Listen, we're allowing authoritarians to take over to support our addictions. That's what we're doing here. We have addiction to laziness. We have an addiction to irresponsibility. And we have an addiction to allowing everybody else take the blame for our faults. Okay, if we were drug addicts, you know what they would say? Well, we can't help you unless you're going to help yourself. Exactly. Okay, the government can't help you. They can give you a hand. Okay, you get disabled, they can give you some disability. You lose your job, they can give you a few weeks of unemployment. They can give you a hand, but they can't fix your life. San Francisco tried it. Now try walking 5 feet in San Francisco without finding a used needle on the ground, or 20 homeless people out there. Think these homeless? Some of them probably want to get better. Okay, but a lot of these homeless people do not. I don't know, guys. I'm at the point where I'm just rambling. I've got a lot to say about socialism, so maybe my next video will be over that. You guys can go ahead and like and subscribe. That would help me a whole lot. You guys, go ahead and throw some comments down. Tell me what you think about what I said, some holes, what I can do better, what I could do worse. That's always good to hear. The things I did well. And tell me, what you want to hear me talk about. This is The Reasonable Conservative. And I hope all of you guys have a fantastic day.